The alarm inside the station cuts through my skull before I even open my eyes, and my hand is already on the spear before my brain understands why. 3 seconds ago I was asleep. Now I am standing in the dark, breathing hard, listening to a voice in the corridor scream words I do not understand in a language that is not mine. I am Daniel Cole. 6 months ago I was a mall guard in Ohio with a bad knee and a worse paycheck. Tonight I am the only thing standing between an alien princess and whatever is trying to break down her door. The door groans, not creaks, groans, like something heavy is leaning its whole weight against it from the other side. Syl is behind me, still in her sleeping robes, her 4 fingers gripping my arm so tight I can feel her pulse through the fabric. "Daniel," she says, and her voice does not shake, but it is close. "That is not station security." I know. Then what is it? I don't know that part yet. The door buckles inward at the hinge. Metal shrieks. I push Syl behind me with one arm, and lift the spear with the other, and for one long second I think about how strange it is that 6 months ago the scariest thing in my life was an angry customer at gate 3 of a parking garage, and now it is this. The door gives. What comes through is not a person. It is a machine, low and wide, built for one purpose only, and that purpose is not conversation. 4 legs, a single sensor eye glowing red, and a weapon mount where a head should be. It turns towards Syl, and the sensor locks. I do not think. I move. I put myself directly between the machine and the princess, spear raised, and the machine fires. The shot catches my shoulder and spins me half around, but it does not put me down. Pain floods through me, hot and sharp, and I hear Syl call my name behind me. But my legs are still working and my hand is still gripping the spear, and that is enough. I drive the spear forward into the gap beneath the sensor eye, into the soft wiring most species never think to armor, because most species never expect an enemy to survive the first hit long enough to find it. The machine sparks, shudders, and collapses. Silence. My shoulder is on fire. I press a hand against it and feel warmth soaking through my shirt, but I am upright, and the door frame behind me is empty, and no more machines are coming through it. Daniel. Syl's hands are on my face, turning it toward her, and her dark eyes are wide with something I have not seen in her before. Worry, yes, but also disbelief. You are still standing. Barely, I admit. Station guards arrive a full 90 seconds later, weapons raised, shouting orders in 3 languages at once. By the time they reach us, the danger is already finished, and all they find is a smoking machine on the floor, and a hurt human refusing to sit down until the princess is confirmed safe. The next few hours blur together. Doctors, scanners, a dozen questions I do not have good answers for. Somewhere in the middle of it, Station Commander Alina Ferris finds me in the medical bay, her expression unreadable. "That unit was rated to disable 3 armed guards before backup could respond," she says. "You took a direct hit and stopped it with a spear. I got lucky." "You got lucky twice tonight. Once when it fired high instead of center mass, and once when your species turned out to be built like a tank." She studies me for a long moment. "Do you understand what almost happened in that room?" "I do, actually. I understood it the second the door started groaning. But I do not say that. I just nod." "That unit did not act alone," Ferris continues. "It was deployed. Someone on this station wanted the princess gone tonight, and they very nearly succeeded." The word betrayal sits heavy in the room after that, and nobody rushes to fill the silence it leaves behind. 2 days pass before anyone tells me anything useful, and even then it comes from Syl herself, not from Station Command. We are in her private study, a room lined with data screens and soft blue light, and she is pacing in a way I have never seen her do before. The Vey are not a pacing people. They are calm by nature, unhurried by evolution, comfortable with stillness in a way humans never quite manage. Watching her walk back and forth in tight, anxious circles feels wrong, like watching still water suddenly ripple with no wind to explain it. "There is a faction within the compact," she says finally, "that believes my family's trade policies are weakening our species. They believe openness to outside worlds, including yours, is a mistake that will cost us everything we are. So they tried to remove you. They have tried before, through quieter means. Something wrong in my food. A structural failure in my transport pod that investigators called an accident. Both times I survived by chance, and both times the trail went cold before it reached anyone important." She stops pacing and looks at me directly. "This time the trail may not go cold. This time they used a combat unit registered to a private security contract, and that contract can be traced. Then we trace it. It is not that simple. The contractor in question has powerful friends. Powerful enough that Station Command is hesitant to move against them without absolute proof. So what do we do? Syl hesitates, and for the first time since I have known her, she looks genuinely uncertain. There is a data vault on the lower ring, 3 levels down from the trade docks. It holds the original contract records for every private security unit registered on this station, including the one that attacked us. If we can retrieve those records ourselves, Station Command will have no choice but to act. And if we get caught retrieving them? Then it will look exactly like what our enemies want it to look like. A princess and her guard breaking into a restricted vault for reasons no one will believe are innocent. I think about that for a moment, about the risk of it, about how easily this could go wrong in a dozen different ways. Then I think about the machine's red sensor eye locking onto Syl in the dark, and the choice becomes very easy. When do we leave? The lower ring is nothing like the parts of the station I know. Up above, everything is clean lines and soft lighting, built for diplomats and dignitaries who never have to think about where their comfort comes from. Down here, the corridors are narrow, dim, and crowded with cargo containers stacked higher than my head, and the air smells like heated metal and recycled oxygen that has been breathed too many times already. Syl moves through it like she was born to it, which surprises me, until she explains, quietly, that she used to slip down here as a child to escape the pressure of palace life. I file that away as one more thing I did not expect to learn about her tonight. We reach the vault entrance without trouble, which should have been my first warning. Nothing on this station has gone smoothly since the moment I arrived, and the fact that this does feels less like luck and more like a trap waiting to close. Syl's access codes get us through the outer door. The inner door requires a second authorization, one she does not have, which means we are now standing in a narrow airlock corridor with one door sealed behind us and another sealed in front, and no way forward except through a lock neither of us can open. This was not part of the plan, Syl admits. Neither was almost getting shot in your bedroom, but here we are. A voice crackles through a hidden speaker somewhere above us, smooth and unbothered, speaking in the common trade language most of the station uses. Princess Siltharain, I confess I did not expect you personally. Your guard, however, I have been curious about for some time. The voice belongs to someone named Orvain Kess, a name I will later learn is attached to the security contractor Syl mentioned, but in this moment I know only that the voice sounds pleased with itself in a way that makes my stomach turn. Release the door, Kess, Syl says, and her voice has gone cold in a way I have never heard from her. Whatever you think you have gained by trapping us here, you have gained nothing. Station Command already suspects you. Suspicion is not proof, Your Radiance. And by the time proof exists, if it ever does, I intend for you to no longer be a concern. A pause, thoughtful, almost curious. Your guard interests me more than you might expect. Human bodies are remarkably resilient. I would like to see exactly how resilient before this ends. The airlock corridor begins to vent. I feel the pressure shift before I understand what is happening, a subtle pull at my ears. A thinning of the air that most species would not notice until it was too late. But I grew up hiking at altitude, running drills in gym class until my lungs burned, pushing my body past comfortable limits, just to see where the real limits were. I notice it immediately. He's venting the air, I say. We need to move. Move where? The doors are sealed. I look around the narrow corridor, at the cargo containers stacked along one wall even here, at the maintenance panel half hidden behind a support strut that nobody bothered to secure because nobody expected anyone to need it. My hands are already moving before my mind finishes the thought. There's a maintenance shaft. If I can get this panel open, there might be a way around the lock. Might? It's what we've got. The panel comes free with more force than skill, my fingers scraping raw against the metal edge. And behind it is a narrow shaft leading down into darkness, cool air drifting up from somewhere below. It is not a large space. It is barely large enough for one person to fit through at a time, let alone two, and every second we spend deciding is a second the air around us grows thinner. Go, Syl says. Not without you. Daniel, there is no time to argue about this. Then don't argue. Just move. She goes first, and I follow close behind, folding myself into a space clearly built for smaller equipment rather than people, my hurt shoulder aching with every twist and pull. The air is thin enough now that my breathing comes ragged, my vision swimming slightly at the edges, but I keep moving, because stopping is not an option that exists for me right now. The shaft opens into a service corridor below the vault, dimly lit, empty, and blessedly full of breathable air. Syl drops down first, and I follow, landing hard on my bad shoulder and biting back a sound I refuse to let become a shout. Are you hurt? Syl asks, kneeling beside me immediately. I'll live. Probably. Probably is not reassuring. It's the best I've got right now. We do not have time to rest. Somewhere above us, Kes is realizing his trap has failed, and that realization will not slow him down for long. We move through the service corridor quickly, following the hum of machinery, until it leads us to a secondary access point into the vault, one clearly not meant for official use, but one that exists all the same. Inside, the vault is smaller than I expected, rows of secure data terminals lining the walls, each one humming quietly with stored information most people on this station will never see. Syl moves to the nearest terminal, with the focus of someone who has done this kind of thing before, her fingers moving across the controls with practice speed. "There," she says after a moment, and a file appears on the screen, dense with data I cannot read but which she scans with obvious understanding. This is it, Kes's contract records. Every deployment, every target, every payment. This is enough. Then let's get it out of here. The vault door behind us slides open before either of us can move toward it, and Kes himself steps through, flanked by 2 more combat units identical to the one that attacked us 2 nights ago. "I admire persistence," he says, looking directly at me. "But persistence without capability is simply delay." "You'd be surprised how far delay gets you," I say. He tilts his head slightly, curious rather than concerned. "Would I?" The units move first, faster than I expect, faster than the one from before, and I understand instantly that this time there will be no lucky first strike to end things quickly. I push Syl behind the nearest terminal bank and turn to face them with nothing but my hands, and whatever advantage my body's stubborn refusal to quit can give me. The first unit reaches me and I catch its extended limb before it connects, twisting my body with it rather than against it, using its own weight to send it into the terminal beside us. Sparks fly. It does not go down, but it stumbles, and stumbling is enough of an opening. The second unit is smarter, more careful, circling rather than charging, and I realize with a cold drop in my stomach that this one has learned from the first one's mistake. It will not give me an opening. I will have to make one. "Syl," I call out, not taking my eyes off the machine in front of me. "The terminal behind you, does it have a control for the room's air systems?" "Yes, why?" "Because I need you to overload it. Now." She does not question me again. Her hands move across the console, and a moment later the lights in the vault dim sharply as power redirects, and the air begins to grow thick with a faint chemical scent I recognize from the maintenance labels along the wall, a fire suppression system triggered early and hard. The units, built with sensors tuned for visual and heat tracking, suddenly find themselves working with far less information than they need. I do not have that problem. I grew up in rooms with bad lighting and worse visibility, learned to move by feel and memory long before any alien invented me a fancy sensor to rely on instead. I move through the haze toward the nearest unit's last known position and drive my full weight into its side, sending it into its companion, and both machines crash into the terminal bank hard enough to short out completely. Quiet returns, broken only by my own ragged breathing and the soft hum of the vault's remaining systems. Kes has not moved. He stands near the exit, watching the wreckage of his machines with an expression that has finally lost its confidence. "Impossible," he mutters, almost to himself. "I get that a lot," I say. He turns to run, but Syl is faster than he expects, faster than her species usually is, driven by an anger I have not seen in her before. She blocks the exit before he can reach it, data file already secured, and station security floods through the corridor behind him only moments later, drawn by the disturbance and the emergency signal Syl triggered the moment the trouble began. Kes is taken into custody without further struggle. The fight, it turns out, was the last piece of resistance he had left in him. 3 days later, I am standing in the same medical bay I woke up in after the first attack, my shoulder wrapped and healing faster than the doctors seemed comfortable with, and Syl is sitting beside my bed with the contract file finally handed over to Station Command, the investigation now moving forward with evidence too solid to ignore. "They will face judgment for what they attempted," she says. "All of them. Kes, and whoever within the compact funded him." "Good. You could have been badly hurt in that vault. Twice, if I am counting honestly." Her eyes hold mine steadily. "You did not have to follow me down that maintenance shaft. You did not have to face those machines alone while I worked the terminal." "Yes, I did. Why?" I think about the answer for a moment, about all the reasons I could give her, about duty and contract and the strange twist of fate that put me on this station in the first place. But none of those feel like the real answer. Not anymore. Because somewhere along the way, protecting you stopped being a job, I say. It just became the thing I do. Syl is quiet for a long moment, and something in her expression softens in a way I have come to recognize as rare for her species, something closer to warmth than her usual composed calm. "Then I am grateful for whatever mistake brought you here," she says. "Yeah," I say, leaning back against the medical cot, feeling the ache in my shoulders settle into something manageable. "Me too." Outside the medical bay, station life continues as it always does, unaware of how close it came to losing the woman who keeps so much of it balanced and safe. Inside, for the first time in days, there is nothing left to fight, nothing left to run from, only the quiet relief of having made it through in one piece. And for a mall guard from Ohio who never asked to become anyone's protector, that quiet is worth every bruise it cost to earn.